You're listening to Inside the Locker Room with Wimp and Barry Sanderson on Tide 100.9 in Tuscaloosa.
Reordering a problem. So when it comes to food for work, make it easy on yourself with EasyCater. Start your order at EasyCater.com.
Inside the Locker Room with former Crimson Tide basketball coach Wimp Sanderson and his son, former SEC and ACC assistant basketball coach Barry Sanderson. It's time to take you inside the locker room on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
And good morning and welcome into a Tuesday edition of Inside the Locker Room. 205-342-9904 is our phone number. If you'd like to join the show with us this morning, be wide open the first 30 minutes on the back end. And from the 8 o'clock hour, we do have some coaching sound. And I want to talk about that a little bit after Dad does his deal. I'd listened to those coordinators yesterday intently, and I just want to kind of tell you what I think about those guys. Yellowwood pressure-treated pine from Great Southern. Always remember, guys, if it doesn't have the yellow tag on it, you don't want it. You want to build something the last five-star backyard, the fence, the deck, the pergola. There's only one choice, and I would go to yellowwood.com to find the dealer that is closest to you. Download the Tide 100.9 app. We got several chat messages yesterday. I don't normally send anything back on those, but I do read them over the air if you guys want to send us those. So we appreciate that. Also, you can listen to any one of the shows or all the coaches' show if you're traveling outside of the Tuscaloosa area. If you want to email us, it's wimpandbarry@yahoo.com. We got Chase, our main man, Mr. Dependable, behind the glass with his little Mississippi State Bulldogs. He's not having a good year this year, but they did play Texas a little bit better. Dad, a few interesting games this weekend. I've got my eye on that Ole Miss at South Carolina game. We'll see what that loss for Georgia does with Auburn coming out going on the road for the first time this season at 2-3. I don't think anybody picked Auburn to be 2-3. I heard a lot of 5-0s and 4-1. So, but not just a great weekend of college football, to be quite honest with game day. Going out to Cal and Miami. But good morning. How are you this morning?
I'm doing okay. Generally speaking, I don't talk a lot about baseball. I'm a baseball fan, but I'm an older baseball fan. The Mets and the Braves split. 8-7-3-0 is probably you've been told. That means that both of them are in the wild cards. Now get this now. So remember this: the wild card series is best out of 3.
Yeah.
And so you have to remember that. And it's October 1, 2, and 3, and both the Braves and the Mets got into the wild card series. So Diamondbacks got left out. I had the good fortune of having a chance to meet Pete Rose a couple of times and visit with him. What a player he was. You talk about somebody that played hard, that hustled, that got after it, did everything he could do. He had the gambling problem. And when he gambled, he bet on his team, which you can't do because you can't, you mess with the line by taking your pitchers in and out. Finally admitted a little bit in his book. Let's take away the bad part and remember 4,000 hits. He was really nice to me, and I visited with him and so it's hate to see that he passed away yesterday at 83. So. The good of baseball and the bad of baseball comes back into my mind at my age. Ryan Williams got an award, and so did Jalen, the Player of the Year, I think it was. Mutombo passed away. Let me tell you about Mutombo. He loved Africa. He loved his country. He loved people. He was a great player. He was a great person. I don't think there's anybody that played any harder and had any more feeling for other people than Mutombo did. He was 58 years old. He passed away with brain cancer, a brain tumor, brain cancer, and somebody that even the media appreciated, a great player. Of course, the Titans lost 31-12 because Tua is not playing. Probably part of the Lions beat the 42-29. the SEC and the Big Ten are going to partnership with, and I think that's pretty smart. They're going to have a meeting about automatic bids with trying to talk to the committee about how that's going to work. I'm not going to get into it because I'm not sure what they're doing. Also about scheduling, or both divisions need to schedule good to keep football, I think, going a little bit better than it's going. And the scheduling part is very, very important. So they're going to have a talk there. Oh, that's about it. On your iPad, if you look at it, the Auburn and Alabama games will intercede each other. The Alabama game will be at 3:15, and the Auburn game will be at 2:30. And those two games there, we have 11 teams playing in the SEC, 10 teams playing in the SEC. One is playing, Central Florida's playing Florida down there, which is a dangerous game for Florida, although Central Florida didn't do much against Colorado. So those games there will be played. On the Auburn side, Peyton Thorne, I think, played fairly well, except for the interception was the killer. He threw a pass he shouldn't have thrown. They stand with Peyton Thorne. Barry's going to talk a little bit about these coaches, but I think the one thing that the defense has done is they've got a little bit more division to vision defense, looking and seeing more so than Coach did. They're in a 3-4. Coach was in a 3-4, and they're in a 4-2-5, whatever you call it. So swarm. So they talked about that yesterday. I didn't hear all of it, but anyway, that's some of the things that happened. Not everything has happened, but we've got, as Barry said, a decent schedule, not a great schedule. We haven't had just great schedules yet. Ole Miss, South Carolina, it's a Booger Bear for both those games. That's it.
Yeah, so let's, you are right. 4 baseball games today, 1:30 ABC. The Tigers will travel to Houston. So all these games will be on the road for the Tigers. So it's not like they're flipping back and forth. It's best 2 out of 3 at the higher seeds home. 3 o'clock, ESPN2, the Royals will take on the Orioles. So you got the hometown Gunnar Henderson from Selma, the starting shortstop for the Orioles that made the All-Star team there. The Mets will go back and play the Brewers at 4:30 on ESPN, and the Braves. I'm sure last night, as soon as they left the stadium, they went straight to the airport. Dad had to fly out to California. They played the Padres at 7:30. Chris Sale, their pitcher is 18-3. Was supposed to pitch Game 2 yesterday. Has back spasms, back problems, so they say he's not going to pitch at all. So their pitching is pretty much depleted for Game 1. They're going to have to throw. Maybe somebody, they talked about Ian Smith, a guy that hadn't thrown for him in 2 years, may have to toe the rubber today, but against the Padres.
I had to back market. Of course, I'm a Cleveland fan. I want Cleveland to win every game. I don't care who wins except Cleveland. So I think we play the winner or somebody. So I had it on my iPad and lost it, so I don't know exactly who plays who. I do know that you go to 3, you go to 2 out of 3. You have to,
they're not going to be traveling back and forth. So the Braves games will be in San Diego. So if they, and then the Indians, those guys will start playing on Saturday. So they're going to have these all done on Thursday. I think they leave 1 extra day there in case they have a rain problem, and then all the other series will start Saturday and Sunday, I believe.
Let me say this to you. I read it to some friends yesterday. Went down to the golf club. There's 3 of them sitting around, wasn't doing anything. And I rolled wind down the hall, and they jumped me about the blue plate. Lord have mercy! You're the dumbest. I can't believe it. I'm going to quit doing it. And so I go inside, and another guy bumps me. So I got to figure out a blue plate this time to win. I got to.
I had a guy text me on Saturday night and said that.
Tell me how dumb I was.
Well, they said listening to our show was costing him a fortune. So
I don't blame
blue plate sponsored you by the Chuck Norwood team.
And I apologize to all you guys. I did, Barry. I found out late Friday, as I said yesterday, that the quarterback at Boston College was not going to play. And they called me and said, "Wimp, you want to change your bet?" And I said, "No, I ain't changed it. I ain't changing my bet. Let's leave it like it was." And
you were going to take Alabama if you changed it, weren't you? So yesterday I was out on a walk, and so Coach has it scheduled where I think it's 11:30. Nick Sheridan comes in. He goes for about 15 minutes, and then Kane Womack goes for about 15, and then Coach DeBoer comes in. They don't practice on Monday, but I really got a chance to listen to Nick Sheridan. Now, I didn't realize this till I looked him up. Nick Sheridan is only 36 years old. So this guy's really young. He was the tight ends coach at Washington. Obviously, they had the guy come that went to Seattle. And so, but he was the offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach at Indiana in 2020 and 2021. Yep. Here's what I think about Nick Sheridan, that he's a young guy, but when I listen to him talk, he is a very serious guy. Like, he studies football. He's not caught up in all the hoopla that goes on around, even Alabama football, the fanfare, this, that, and the other. He is just literally focused on watching football and coaching and doing the best job possible. I was very impressed with him at his press conference and the things that they do offensively, the plan that they put together, how they study. So when people question coaching, these guys are spending, nobody's questioning him. These guys spend so much time. And I thought he was terrific in the press conference yesterday. I think this guy is he's just even-keeled, very business-like, and I think he's going to do a great job here at Alabama. It'll be hard to hold on to him, probably.
Well, I think the one big thing, the head coach has so much confidence in him.
Yeah.
He says so many positive things about him. The offensive coordinator who had been big at over the country lost his job at Purdue. I hated that. He just hasn't been able to get things going. But this young man and the Shepherd guy helps him some. They kind of work together, but he's kind of in charge of it. Is a guy that, as you look at him in the press box, when they throw the picture on him, and something is run that works, he doesn't clap or go goofy. He's looking at his play sheet to see what the next deal is. So I think you've got a really good one here, and somebody that really works. You know, you feel at Auburn they fired the offensive coordinator his first year, and then he took it over. But this is a deal where this guy brings in a guy it's not a guy he doesn't know. He's a guy he's had and he likes and he knows a lot about.
Yeah, and he really liked Kane Womack. Kane Womack's different, but he did a good job at the press conference as well yesterday. I think maybe he tells you too much a little bit. He talked about some of the different disguises that they do, and if I were watching film, and maybe they don't tell the truth completely in those press conferences. They try to get the opponents to look for things that aren't there. But it was interesting listening to him.
Yeah, I think you have to do a lot. I think you have to do a lot of faking with your quarterback against him. I think you have to put it in the pocket of somebody and take it out and put it in the pocket of somebody. I think you try to do everything you can, not too much intentionally, to be sure that those eyes that are on you, and he talked about eyes all the time, doesn't really see what you do. So quarterbacks are important. They always are, but they are. I think they really are against Kane.
And Chase, I know you were listening. One thing I'll take exception to, though, and it was somebody called in on Martin's show, and they called in and said that Alabama completely outcoached Georgia. What? I mean, how do you say that? They did the first half. They had a great game plan, but then Georgia came completely back. So whatever he did to keep his team in the game, and of course now Kane Womack says, it's much more difficult because they basically said, hey, we're going to run 4 downs. So when they're running 4 downs and you got to keep them getting 10 yards, it makes it more difficult for your defense. But if you think about what Kirby and his staff did to bring them all the way back, and then literally it came down, if you want to be right, to 2 plays. The one to Ryan Williams and the interception by Brown in the end zone.
They're going the other way, son.
Yeah. So to say they got completely out, I thought both coaches' staffs.
They didn't get out-coached at all. 26, people would have quit. A lot of teams, people would have just absolutely quit at the scores like it was at the halftime.
So I just don't get where people they got out-coached or nobody got out-coached. They played a complete game, and Georgia got the best of Alabama in the second half. Alabama got the best of Georgia in the first half, and Alabama made 2 more big plays. And I thought Alabama's coaching staff was terrific, and I thought in the second half, Georgia's coaching staff made terrific adjustments, and it ended up being a great football game. So quit saying people out coached. But now it does happen, but it didn't happen on Saturday.
It will be a game, Barry, that as you talk about when I was at Alabama with Coach Bryant, you talk about past games that happened, field goals that won games against Auburn and so forth. This will be a past game that fans will talk about for a long time.
Yeah, so if that last pass that was picked off in the end zone had gone over Fabian Brown's head and the Georgia guy caught it, would we say Kirby outcoached just one play there?
Oh, they go the other way then.
Yeah, so it's just players making plays in a game like that. Right. And both coaching staffs did a great job in the game. It was a terrific game that was extremely
Players win games. Coaches didn't catch that ball. Players.
You got to get them in the right spots. You got to discipline them. You got to practice them well. You got to have them ready for the moment. And I thought both staffs did a good job there. 2-minute truck. They're at 1330 Martin Road East. That's where I go pick up my boxes, my packing supplies, whatever I need to make this a smooth move. Where it's local, out of town, out of state, no problem. Let the professionals handle it. Give them a call today. It's 205-247-5050. It's 2-minute truck. Movers who care.
Here's what's trending on the Tuscaloosa thread.
Good Tuesday morning. West Alabama timberland owners have been severely damaged by a southern pine beetle infestation all summer long. Now the USDA is providing some relief in the form of the Emergency Forest Restoration Program. All 67 counties in Alabama have been approved to participate in the program to restore and rehabilitate private forest lands impacted by the insect and severe drought. Click TuscaloosaThread.com for more local news throughout the day. It's free. Don Hartley, Town Square Media, Tuscaloosa.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. Pretty insignificant delays for this disabled vehicle on Highway 69 northbound after Skyland Boulevard. Everything's on the shoulder, so you have no worries in the main lanes. You're still moving right about. Construction zones on Old Birmingham Highway eastbound between Keens Mill Road and
Straight Savings Plan enrollment requires compatible unlocked device and new line of service. Bonus device credit requires 12 months of active service. Offer ends if eligibility requirements are no longer met. Taxes and fees apply. For network management practices, see Straight Talk's terms and conditions.
Your home for Alabama Crimson Tide football. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Back to Inside the Locker Room. Yellowwood pressure treated pine from Great Southern. If it doesn't have the yellow tag on it, you don't want it. To the Yellowwood hotline. Good morning, Philip.
Good morning, guys.
How are you, buddy?
I'm feeling good. I'm fine. I can only remember one other Alabama game that kind of ended like that, especially with a defensive stand. And everybody thinks about the goal line stand against Penn State in the Sugar Bowl. But as far as an interception to pretty much squash the opposition's chances of winning, and I could be wrong, and it could have been a game a few years ago, and I just forgot about it, but Alabama beat Mississippi State in Tuscaloosa back in, I think it was 80. And Tommy Wilcox picked off a John Bond pass in the end zone to win the game for Alabama. Wimp, I bet you were there.
Oh, yeah, I was there. 1980, I was there.
Yeah, so I can only remember one other game like that, and that was one that goes back a long way. Yeah. But, Barry, I was going to ask you, because I love to ask you these type questions, and went to, but has Alabama got a chance to step on Auburn's throat right now?
I don't think. Well,
what do you mean? As far as
here's what I mean.
Separating themselves from them?
Here's what I'm getting at. Everything good that could be happening to Alabama is happening right now.
Yes.
Everything terrible that could be happening to Auburn is happening right now. The good for Alabama that's going to be good is that during the next few weeks, Alabama is home against Vandy recruiting. home against South Carolina, recruits coming. They go on the road to Tennessee. They come home on the 26th to recruits again coming to the campus.
Well,
Auburn goes to Georgia, no recruits. They're off. They go to Missouri, no recruits. They go to Kentucky, no recruits. And then they don't come back in home until the 2nd of November. I think it's a chance for Alabama to really embed themselves recruiting in the state.
Well, what you do is you work really hard, pre-scheduled to recruit people. You get parents in there. You do non-official, everything you can. And then you continue that during the season. During the season, recruiting is going to be a downer for Auburn, as you've said. Alabama's got the upper hand because they're winning. They got the upper hand because they're, playing the way they're playing. It's a little bit more important to prospects. So you keep fighting. You keep working as hard as you can behind the scenes if you're Auburn with these parents, because you've made it a feel with them, and you figure out your NIL situations as well with your head coach. So behind the scenes, you work hard. The process of the schedule does not favor Auburn versus Alabama in the next 3 weeks. You're right.
One of the things I think, Philip, is when Coach Saban left, I had somebody who was wanting to maybe buy some property or buy a house, whatever. I was like, I'd be careful, with him leaving. These guys, people are going to stop coming to Alabama. Well, that's completely wrong. With what DeBoer's built here right now, and the excitement and what just happened this weekend with the stars coming in, the president coming in, the way that this is the place to come right now. They're going to be flooding in here. And then you look at the guys that left Alabama and went to Florida State, how bad their season's going. And then when you add the lawsuit that was won, and they take this thing to 105 scholarships, I think Alabama can go flip as many of those guys just about as they want in the state.
Philip, now
yes, sir.
Are you listening to me?
I always listen to you very intently.
All right, let me tell you something. The Vanderbilt game, don't laugh, is very important.
The Vanderbilt game is hugely important.
Well, I don't think maybe you do. But you win a game like this and go and get beat by Vanderbilt. The Vanderbilt game is very, very in the minds of the fans. They're just kind of saying, "Oh, what time's that Vanderbilt game? I think I might watch it." It's huge game, so don't forget that.
I think,
yes, sir. And
I think DeBoer then realizes that's why they had mouse traps around the Malmore building yesterday.
That's right.
So I think right now, even maybe more than when Coach Saban left, that Alabama is the place to be right now. The crowd, everybody's talking about the atmosphere in the stadium Saturday night, the way they won. They got the hotshot freshman Ryan Williams that's going to be here. And these guys are probably doing very well NIL-wise. Things going to 105 scholarships. These guys that have committed to Auburn that Alabama wants, I think they'd have a pretty good chance to flip. So to answer your question, yeah, I think they could put their foot on the throat.
One thing you have to do, one thing Barry knows and I know is that you have to stay with it hard, because let me tell you something, folks. Good can turn to bad, and you don't ever want that. You want everything that's good to stay good, and you got to work at it.
Well, I think this coaching staff, Philip, they're not like, Lane Kiffin does a good job. He also likes to be silly. He wants to get on TikTok with his daughter, do all kind of silly things. Well, these guys are just business-like. They're going to get ready for the next game. And so they're not, to me, it doesn't look like they're going to lay an egg when they're not supposed to, where some of these guys do, because they're.
What you're saying and what happens sometimes doesn't work.
Yeah, they're going to beat. They may not go up and play great against Vanderbilt, but Vanderbilt's not going to beat Alabama this weekend.
Okay, good.
They don't beat Alabama. You know that. So, they may cover the line. Alabama may go up there and win by 50, but they're not going to win. Vanderbilt's not going to win the game.
Okay, well, good. That's good. We're in great shape then.
Yeah, so Good question, though. I think it's. I think in Auburn, I read a deal today where now Hugh Freeze is, talking about how bad the program was. He didn't call out Brian Harse's name, but how poorly they had been recruiting, how bad it was, and the AD knew that and told him all that. So he's still, which is true. It's probably all true. It was bad, but.
One of the bad things, Barry, is that people he brought in on his staff, he got dissatisfied with and fired them.
Yeah, so he didn't do great either.
A good job of bringing in the people. I just got through making the comment of the head coach at Alabama and the offensive coordinator being close to each other and having a lot of confidence in him.
Yeah.
In Auburn's case, it didn't happen that way.
Yeah. So I think they may have some problems down there on the plains. They may be running out of there by the truckloads.
Good.
But Auburn's not your worry right now. It's Tennessee and Georgia. Auburn's got a long way to go to catch Alabama. So,
all kidding aside, you're right. And it's a long season, and Alabama's getting some guys nicked up, and just got to buckle down. And Wimp's exactly right. I remember when. I think, Wimp, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Alabama had that great game on TV against Ole Miss back with Scott Hunter and Archie Manning played. And I think the next week, Vanderbilt beat Alabama, what was it, 11-10?
Yeah, that was the greatest game in the history of Alabama football, as far as I'm concerned.
But then the next week was Vandy, right?
Was that 33-32?
Something like that, yeah. Yes, sir, I mean. And the next week, didn't Vanderbilt beat Alabama?
I think so. I think they did.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I hope the quarterback and Ryan and them didn't hear Barry say this is going to be a breeze.
I didn't say a breeze. I said they're going to win the game.
Yeah. Well, you said by a big score.
I said they'll win. I said they may not cover the line. They may win by 50, but they're going to win the game.
They're going to win by 50.
So anyway, Ryan Williams got to get his fingernails painted. He we're going to get his
that guy. I'm telling you what, that guy he's as comfortable in his own skin as anybody I've ever seen.
How many kids will be painting their fingernails now, Philip, that play football?
Who painted Barry?
His little sister paints his fingernails for him. She likes it.
Who?
Ryan Williams' little sister.
Oh, he does?
Yeah, he has some black fingernails.
Well, of course, we get the fingernail polish out and sell some.
There you go. Thank you, Philip.
Yeah. Thank y'all.
All right, we'll get to break here. We'll get to Kevin Skarbinski. Listen, Tide 100.9 is the home of Alabama sports.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. Pretty insignificant delays for this disabled vehicle on Highway 69 northbound after Skyland Boulevard. Everything's on the shoulder, so you have no worries in the main lanes. You're still moving right about. Construction zones on Old Birmingham Highway eastbound between Keens Mill Road and Kent.
Renovations. Experience the wow factor. Contact Shoot Masonry and Specialties at 205-887-3807 today and unleash your home's full potential.
Road tripping, business travel, or bringing your car in for repairs. All great reasons to rent a Toyota at Tuscaloosa Toyota. You can rent the latest Toyota models for a day, a week, or a weekend. Every Toyota rental-car comes with 24 hours roadside assistance.
398-9845. 800-398-9845. That's 800-398-9845.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
A partly sunny sky today. Just a small chance of a shower this afternoon and this evening. The high today 83. Tonight's low 64. Tomorrow is sunny day. The high 85. And Thursday, partially sunny with a high back in the mid-80s at 86. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 68 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Two-time state champion and two-time NIT champion Barry Sanderson breaks down the latest in sports on Inside the Locker Room on Tide 100.9.
Yellowwood, pressure treated pine from Great Southern. Going to build the fence, the deck, the pergola. You want it to last. You want to use Yellowwood. Go to yellowwood.com. Find the dealer closest to you. He's a writer with the Birmingham Lead. Got the CBS 42 college football Saturday. I think that's at 6:30 each Saturday. Joins us every Tuesday, Kevin Skarbinski. Good morning, Kevin. How are you?
Good morning, fellas. I'm good.
Kevin, Dad and I were saying we've been doing this show for 9 years, and we both have said, oh, boy, when Nick Saban retires, this place is going to be different. And I know how many apartments and all and condos and everything they built here, and I said, they're going to have a hard time filling those. I think they got 40,000, right at 40,000 students now. Based on what's happened here in the first 5 weeks of Kalen DeBoer, this thing with Kalen DeBoer, Ryan Williams, and the pretty sorority girls that are on TikTok, the boys are all watching out. I think this enrollment's about to go to about 45,000, Kevin. This place is going to be busting at the seams with Alabama football. You had the Stars in this weekend, the former president here, the game that it was. Who would have ever thought it would be like this after Coach Saban left? Your thoughts on that?
And so quickly. There was no Great Depression that rolled in that put a cloud over everything, that made people wonder, was it really going to drop off? So far, it couldn't have been any better with the decisions that Kalen DeBoer has made. And really, the most important right off the bat was getting Ryan Williams back in the fold, and after he decommitted when Nick retired. And now we see why. Because Ryan Williams is one of those rare players like a David Palmer. When you're drawing comparisons to David Palmer, and younger folks won't appreciate what those comparisons truly mean. But I talked to a long-time college football coach yesterday. He was defensive coordinator at a number of schools in the SEC and outside the SEC. He said in his career, David Palmer was the best football player he ever tried to defend against with the ball in his hands. That once he got the ball in his hands, and if he was in space, look out. Because he did things that other people couldn't do, other human beings couldn't do. And now Ryan Williams looks like he's in that category too. So with every decision that Kalen DeBoer made, we wondered about his staff. They've performed pretty well so far, but it hasn't been perfect. And that's even better, that they're not just mashing people, and they did mash Georgia. What they did to Georgia in the first 15, 18 minutes was extraordinary. Nobody does that to Georgia, but they did. And then, because Georgia's champions is a bunch of champions on that sideline, they came back and took the lead. And it's almost more impressive that Alabama didn't buckle at that point. Georgia had the lead for all of one play, and then Ryan Williams happened. So, and the atmosphere, I wasn't at the game, but because we were doing the TV show, we actually did two shows on Saturday. Did a post-game show after Alabama, which was good to be able to talk about it. It wasn't even over, but we're watching on our phones to give updates as the show's going on from 10 to 11. But no, you couldn't have asked for a smoother transition, a more exciting transition, and the feeling that this thing is not going to drop off. The Kalen DeBoer is 49 years old, and this thing may continue for some time into the foreseeable future. I don't think that's a feeling we expected to have a month into the first season after Nick Saban.
Yeah, that.
So you and Barry feel that the Vanderbilt game is not going to be important, not going to be difficult.
Did I say that?
I didn't say that.
Not Barry did.
No, I didn't. I said they're going to beat Vanderbilt. They may not.
The Vanderbilt game. The Vanderbilt, your team and your people are on cloud nine. I don't let them stay on cloud nine. There's three parts to Ryan Williams. There's the offensive line, and there's the guy that throws it to him. And if either one of those break down, Ryan Williams doesn't catch anything. I'm always feeling that I got to push it as much as I possibly can. The Vanderbilt game is really, really important, and I think that's the one thing that fans need to understand, and darn sure players do.
That's absolutely right, of course. And you know that after such a massive game as that, and then the emotional roller coaster that it took everyone on, to walk out of there, I mean, it was almost a national championship-like celebration after that. That's not easy to bring those guys back down, except all Kalen DeBoer had to do was show them the film of the third and most of the fourth quarters.
Yeah.
And say, guys, we ain't perfect. We got a lot of work to do. Because if you let up, if you don't keep your foot on the gas, if you don't complete drives, there's a lot of things that they didn't do in that game that they allowed Georgia to do, and part of it was Georgia. Like I said, let's not forget, those guys had not lost a regular season game since November 7th, 2020. That's amazing. That's the second longest streak in AP poll history. So it's a pretty good football team on the other side. And you had to expect that they were going to fight back, that they weren't going to roll over. And so that you didn't respond very well to that until the very end, that you allowed them to come back in some ways. Some ways they just imposed their will, and Carson Beck was not going to play as poorly as he did in the first quarter for the entire four quarters. Then there are a lot of teachable moments from that game. And isn't that the best situation? When you win a game, but there's plenty to learn from it, and you have to realize that, guys, you came really close to. Imagine the talk today had they not scored that last touchdown.
That's right. And,
oh my goodness.
You're right. You're 100% right. And you don't keep this a negative speech as you're making, or Barry, any of us, but you're also keeping it a realistic speech that
yes,
that us three know we better be ready. They better be ready to play.
Yeah, Alabama fans, unfortunately, Kevin, they get so full of themselves. I heard a guy call in earlier talking about how they outcoached Georgia so bad. Well, there was two halves, and Georgia played pretty darn well. If that pass goes over Fabian Brown's head, and that guy catches it, then who outcoached two? So I don't think anybody outcoached anybody. You had two great coaches and two great coaching staffs, and let's don't get ahead of ourselves. Those are two of the best teams in the country that put on a show. And give Kirby Smart and his team credit. A lot of teams lay down at 30 to 7? 30 to 7,
yeah.
Yeah. So
it was 28-0 and then 30-7. And I will say this, and this was a characteristic of Nick Saban's Alabama teams, the preparation that Alabama put into that game. They were so ready, and so well prepared, and it was as if Georgia looked like a bunch of deer in the headlights. Like even Kirby a little bit on the sideline. It's like they knocked them off their equilibrium, disturbed their equilibrium, and Georgia lost its way there. I mean, because nobody does that to Georgia. But how many times have we seen Alabama in big games through the years just come out, usually in those like season openers against teams we talked about this, with whose names were better than their games, and Alabama would just come out, hit them in the mouth, and before you knew it, Alabama was up 3-4 touchdowns. But then they typically would go on and, if not win by 6 or 7 touchdowns, they would at least win comfortably. That's very different. And that's a good point, too. Not only did Georgia take the lead with 2.5 minutes left, and then Alabama that's a bolt of lightning, that throw from Milroe to Ryan Williams. But then Georgia comes right back and goes right down the field and throws into the end zone to win the game. And it's a little underthrown, and Fabian Brown made a really nice play. And if that goes wrong, they score there and they win the game, then everybody is questioning Kalen DeBoer and his staff and wondering, how in the world did you blow a 28-0 lead on your home field with that atmosphere? Because it was, from people who were there, it may have been the best atmosphere at a home game for Alabama ever.
Yeah, people just like to say, well, they took their foot off the gas. No, they didn't. Georgia was just playing with. They were playing with 4 downs. They got them to 4th down, and they made it. They didn't take their foot off the gas. They just Georgia played better, and then the biggest play of the game. I thought one of the biggest plays was Alabama making that 2-point conversion. That takes a little bit of pressure off of you on that last drive from Georgia. And I wonder, nobody asked him, would Kirby Smart have gone for 2 there, Kevin?
That's a great question. I kind of had a feeling that he would have. And, my gut tells me you've got, with the exception of that lightning bolt to Ryan Williams, if you score there, all the momentum is on Georgia's side, because they have not only have they snatched it back once, they would have snatched the momentum once. They would have snatched it back twice, before and after the Ryan Williams touchdown. So I think in that case, because you're in hostile territory, because you have every coach, every team has, they have a handful of 2-point plays, because that's what it becomes. If you get to a third overtime, it becomes a 2-point play battle. But you have 1 or 2 that you really, really like. So why not? Why not go for it? Go for the win and ride that momentum. And if you don't get it, you feel good. You still feel good about yourself for coming back the way you did.
Yeah. That.
Sonny. I got Sonny.
Ooh, Sonny.
Kevin, sorry. I got some more on my mind. I can't think. We're sitting here now with a Georgia team that has to go to Texas.
Mm-hmm.
They have a good Tennessee team come to their place. Regardless of where Tennessee is, they do pretty well. Are we in? Is Georgia in a situation where a loss to one of those teams there, or 2 losses even? I think Barry thinks they could lose twice and still get in the playoffs. Is there any kind of feeling among the media about where Georgia would stand with losses?
Well, I've said this. I said this going into Saturday's game, that while it's not make or break for either team, it was more important for Georgia to win that game because of the relative schedules that both teams have to play, the relative strength of the schedules that both teams have to play. Because Georgia also, despite what happened Saturday, they do have to go to Ole Miss, and Ole Miss is a very talented football team. So you look at that, and like you said, the trip to Texas, the visit from Tennessee, that's probably, looking at it right now, a month into the season, a more difficult road than Alabama has. Of course, Alabama has to go to Knoxville. And how about that, October 19th, guys? Texas welcomes Georgia, and Tennessee welcomes Alabama. The third Saturday in October could be really, really special. But Alabama's got to go to LSU. Not easy, but LSU's not quite the championship contender that we think they are, or people may have thought they were, or they hoped they were, but they're still a talented football team, and it's still in Baton Rouge, as much success as Alabama's had there through the years. Those look like the toughest games Alabama has left. And then Missouri, I'm still not sure about Missouri, whether they're a true top 10 team. But yeah, Georgia's a little bit, I wouldn't say behind the 8 ball, but they've got a little more challenge going forward to not drop a couple more games and not put it in the hands of a committee.
But if they lost to Alabama, everybody saw that game. If they go to Texas and play well and lose, you basically have lost to 2 top 3 teams on the road.
Right.
So if you win the rest of you beat Tennessee, Ole Miss, you're in. Definitely. But those losses, if you lose another one, if it's Tennessee and they're a top 5, that's why I think they could actually lose 3 and still be in the conversation to be in. If it's like Tennessee, of course they got to beat somebody. They can't just lose all the big games. But losing at Texas and then the way they lost at Alabama, those happens. There's no shame in that in the voters or the guys picking this final 12. Do you think, Kevin?
No, there shouldn't be, and that's why we have a committee that's able to look at things like strength of schedule. For example, Ole Miss hurt itself badly.
Yes.
On Saturday by losing to Kentucky. because they've got tougher games ahead. They played no one leading up to that. They should be embarrassed in Oxford. Keith Carter, the athletic director, Lane Kiffin, anyone who's involved with that football program should be absolutely embarrassed at the schedule they played the first month of the season. And the first true opponent they play, they get hit in the mouth and they miss a field goal that would have sent it to overtime at the end. So clearly they didn't play their best football. But once again, Lane Kiffin's teams not rising to the occasion is not something we haven't seen before. To use a double negative, it's become a characteristic of his program. Now they're winning. He's done great things over there. They won a lot of games they didn't used to win, but they're not winning the bigger games, and they're losing games like Kentucky at home, and that shouldn't happen. So in their case, they really have almost no margin for error to get in the playoff.
No.
I think this is one of the big reasons that the SEC and the Big Ten, I meant to mention, and I think I did this morning, are going to meet to talk about scheduling. I think both of them could play the same kind of teams and non-conference wise and make football better, because I think it's struggling in some places. And also to talk about the automatic bids. And I think the other factor is how much is the committee, where is the committee going to stand with scheduling as far as toughness of schedule versus weakness of schedule? Is that going to be important? The committees are huge, and you got to get to them and find out who's who and where's where. You got to play, but I think that's a big meeting.
Well, if they want to see teams schedule quality opponents outside of their conference, of course, you don't control your conference schedule, and conference schedules now are so unbalanced because of the size of these conferences. You can't play everybody in your league. And you can have, for example, compare Texas's schedule to Georgia's. Or compare Texas's to Oklahoma's, as I know Oklahoma people have ever since it came out. And there is such a vast disparity there on the toughness of Oklahoma's schedule, far more difficult than Texas's. Texas has, of the top three teams, it's pretty clear that Texas, Alabama, and Georgia are the top three teams in the SEC right now. And three of the top four maybe teams in the country, maybe the top three teams in the country. But look at their schedule, and those things are not like the others. One of those things is not like the others, and it's the schedule that Texas was gifted for its first year in the SEC.
We had a caller before we had you on talking about this could be the opportunity for Alabama. Of course, I think they got more worries about Tennessee, Texas, and Georgia than they do Auburn, but not good things happening down in Auburn. How Hugh Freeze is handling it. Now he's basically putting it on Brian Harsin and saying how bad it was when he got there. With Alabama now, it's the place to go now, Kevin. You got Ryan Williams as a freshman. Those scholarships are going to 105. If they probably could go flip a lot of these Auburn recruits or have a good chance at doing it, they could even bury Auburn a little bit more. Maybe Auburn can get them because they can promise you playing time, this, that, and the other. Where is this Auburn program right now?
They're staring at a lot more down years. I don't see the optimism that Hugh Freeze is trying to put forth, and some Auburn fans and some of their fanboy fan site website writers are pumping out. They should have won. Look, they had no excuse for losing the Oklahoma game. You gain almost 500 yards. The other team gains less than 300 yards. I think Auburn had 26 or 27 first downs. Oklahoma had 11. Auburn didn't have a turnover until it had the pick six that lost the game. Part of what lost the game, that one play didn't lose it. But first of all, why are you throwing the ball? Why are you giving your quarterback a run-pass option when you're trying to run clock and protect the lead? When your quarterback has shown that he will make bad decisions and he will make bad throws on occasion, far too often. So the set of conditions, someone read, I don't know where they got this from. Somebody some fan who does some pretty good statistical analysis ran through some database, and over the last, I don't know how many number of years, teams that outgained their opponent by the amount that Auburn did and out first down their opponent by the number that Auburn did and only have one turnover are like 78-4 or 78-3 in the last however many years, or 178-3, and now Auburn's on that list. And Peyton Thorne was the quarterback for two of them, because one of those games was Michigan State when he was the starter there. So, and he threw a pick six in that game. So, again, that's a game like you ask yourself when it's over, how did they lose that game? They keep finding new ways to lose, which is not encouraging. It's not a cause for optimism. Oh, yeah, some of your freshmen played well. Well, that's all well and good. Guess who? Oklahoma came in there with a freshman quarterback in his first start in college on the road, Oklahoma's first road game in the SEC, and you had everything going your way. Your crowd was in a frenzy, and then you blow a double-digit lead in the fourth quarter. It's like some teams, you have to learn how to win. When you've lost the way Auburn has lost, and now for the growing period of time over which they've lost, you develop a mentality that you're not sure you can win. You think you can win, you feel like you can win, but you're not sure. Alabama has this is a long time characteristic of Alabama football. No matter what the situation is, there is something in the DNA of Alabama football that says they're going to pull it out. They're going to find a way. They're going to win the game. And that's born and built over decades and decades of finding ways to win football games under all different kinds of circumstances. Auburn is now going the other way. And once you get in that hole that they're in, it's hard to get out. And I think it's going to be hard for them to get out of it.
Yeah.
Certainly, they're not going to they're not going to a bowl game this season. No. They're not going to win enough games. They're not going to finish better than they're going to finish 500 or better. They may be. This is starting to look like a 3-9, 4-8 kind of season. And that's not progress.
No doubt. All right, Kevin, tell everybody where they can find your great stuff.
Yeah, best thing to do, follow me on X/Twitter at Kevin Skarbinski. Keep up with the two columns I write a week for the Birmingham Lead. You can subscribe to that publication, Birmingham Lead, LEDE.com. And the Saturday, you got it right, Barry, 6:30s on Saturday, College Football Saturday on CBS 42 in Birmingham. Scott Griffin and me. Like I said, we did the wrap-up show last week from 10 to 11, which was a lot of fun because we had plenty to talk about. One of the most exciting Saturdays we've seen in this state in a long time.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thanks, guys. Have a great week.
Kevin Skarbinski. All right, we want to thank Yellowwood. They made this 7 o'clock hour possible. Always remember, guys, if it doesn't have that yellow tag on it, then you don't want it. Phone lines will be open 205-342-9904. We also have some sound from the press conferences yesterday. There were 3 of them. We'll listen to the assistant coaches today. But let us have your phone calls when we get back from break. Listen to Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC. It's the home of Alabama sports.
Go inside the Alabama Crimson Tide with the Gary Harris Show.
Hey, everybody, it's Gary Harris. Coming up Tuesday morning on the Gary Harris Show at 9 a.m., we're going to continue to talk Alabama, Georgia, even though it's in the rearview mirror. What a game. And we'll look ahead to Alabama, Vanderbilt with the Rocket Man, Drudy Armand from 977 ESPN Radio in Huntsville. Also, the Titans Report with Kayla Anderson. Your phone calls and more. That's Tuesday morning on the Gary Harris Show at 9 a.m.
Catch the Gary Harris Show Monday through Friday, 9 to 11 a.m. on Tide 100.9 and Tide100.9.com.
WTBC Tuscaloosa and W265CG Tuscaloosa, a Town Square media station. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
From the Fox Sports Studios in Los Angeles, here's Eddie Garcia.
Week 4 in the NFL came to a close with a pair of Monday Night Football games. In Detroit, the Lions outscored the Seahawks 42-29. Detroit quarterback Jared Goff was 18 for 18 passing, 292 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 passing, 1 receiving on a trick play. Seattle suffers its first loss of the year. Both of these teams are now 3-1 overall. In Miami, the Titans downed the Dolphins 31-12. Tennessee lost starting quarterback Will Levis in the first quarter with a shoulder injury. He didn't return. Mason Rudolph finished the game. But Tennessee as a team ran the ball 4 40 times for 142 yards and 2 touchdowns in the win. That's Tennessee's first victory of the season. Both of these teams are now 1-3. In baseball, the regular season wrapped up with a doubleheader in Atlanta, a makeup of a couple of rained-out games from the previous week. Mets clinch the wild card spot in the National League with an 8-7 win in the first game. Braves come back and clinch a wild card spot with a 3-0 win in the second game. Those wins by Atlanta and New York eliminate the Arizona Diamondbacks from the postseason.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. Moving right along on the Tuscaloosa freeways and side streets. Not seeing any severe delays. Now you are a little stacked up on 43 as you take the southbound route to McFarland. And that's got traffic pretty sluggish back to Flatwoods Road.
In Birmingham. Plus, don't miss our grand opening celebration Friday, October the 11th through Sunday, October 13th. And check us out at academy.com with free shipping on purchases over $25.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
A partly sunny sky today. Just a small chance of a shower this afternoon and this evening. The high today 83. Tonight's low 64. Tomorrow is sunny day. The high 85. And Thursday, partially sunny.
Located across from Sokol Park, the venue houses Finney's Pub, the second location of Rammer Jammers, and Liza's Sweet Shop. Visit VenueTuscaloosa.com to learn more.
Inside the locker room with former Crimson Tide basketball coach Wimp Sanderson and his son, former SEC and ACC assistant basketball coach Barry Sanderson. It's time to take you inside the locker room on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Inside the locker room. We want to thank Andrew Kniffer, who helps bring you this 8 o'clock hour. Andrew's my Allstate insurance agent. Let him become yours. He's out at 4705 McFarland Boulevard, Suite 3 over in Northport. He will take great care of you. If you look for home, life, auto, whatever you need to get you the best deal possible when you have a situation come up and you need to use your insurance. That's what it's for. Then you give him a call. He will set you right up where to go there as well. 205-722-9201. Andrew Kniffer, Allstate Insurance. Dad, I was looking, we'll get to Tom here in just 1 second. Kalen DeBoer, I think if I counted this right, this is his 11th year as a head coach. And people say, well, Sioux Falls, I don't care where you're coaching. If you're at Sioux Falls, you're playing teams like you. He was 67-3 at Sioux Falls. His conference record at Sioux Falls was 49-1. He went, Fresno hired him. I guess it was the COVID year. They didn't finish. They only went 3-3. He goes 9-3 the next year, 6-2. So he was 12-6 at Fresno, 9-5. Washington hires him. He goes 11-2. The first year, 7-2 in the Pac-12. Goes 14-1. His next year, 9-0 in the conference. He's 4-0 now. So over an 11-year period, this guy's record's 108-12. He hadn't had many bad weekends in coaching at this point.
No, he does a great job. I think getting his kids to play because they like him so much, and there's not any doubt in my mind when it came down to recruiting battles, he won a lot of those, and I think he'll win his share at Alabama. So I think you got to have players. You got to have players to win games, and you got to get the players that you have. The most important thing is to get better players than your opponent and get them to play. It's two sentences there: get them to play, and he's been able to do that through his career, and the way we go through with kids and so forth, and parents, and now with NIL the way it is, and people being jealous of each other about getting money and so forth, it becomes even more difficult for these coaches. So my hat's off to him. He's terrific.
Yeah, all right, then we'll see. He'll probably have his own coaching tree start to branch out after this year. I'm sure somebody here will get a head job, and that'll start. And that's what happened with Coach Saban. He put a lot of guys out. You got Kirby, you got Sark, you got Dan Lanning, you got a lot of guys out there now, Maryland, that are running their own programs and doing a great job. All right, get to the Andrew Kniffer hotline. Get Tom in. Good morning, Tom.
Tom.
Barry, how are you this morning? How are you, Coach? Good morning.
We're good. How are you, buddy?
Okay, we're hanging in there.
I'm good, yeah. You know, I thought the show this morning has been really good on the conversation, and I thought about something that when Phillip was on there talking about the Auburn situation and the take y'all had on it, and I wanted to bring it up. Sure. And it's this right here. Auburn, if they go to Georgia and they get absolutely smoked when they go over there, when they come back home, they're going to have one game on their mind, and that's going to be Alabama. Because at that point, the only thing that will save face or save their season by their standards is to beat Alabama. And they will do what Gus used to do and what Hugh Freeze did last year, and that is spend about 3 to 4 weeks getting ready for Alabama. Now, that's what they do. And the coaching staff at Alabama needs to be aware of that. I don't know. You know, that's the reason they were able to play us as close as they did last year and years before, because they would spend, when they saw they wasn't going anywhere or do anything of any significance, they started getting ready for Alabama right away.
Yeah, I think the Auburn coaching staff, and I wouldn't feel that. I try to play every game. I think you skip the games if you're fixed and play. You'll have a hard time getting ready for Alabama.
Yeah, I think
that. You'll get your fanny beat every game.
I think, Tom, they
practiced for New Mexico last year. Is that what you're telling me?
Well,
I'm not saying. I'm just saying that if I'm a head coach there, I don't want to do that now. But I've had high expectations. I think you've got to play every game and play your fanny off to be better, to have a chance to be better.
That's what everybody else would do.
Yeah, Tom, I don't think guys coach like that. First of all, the game's up here. It's a big difference in being up here than it is down there. And they got these freshmen, man. They got to coach on, hey, we got to get these guys better. We can't be worried about Alabama right now. We got to make these guys improve each and every day and have a chance to, go to Missouri and play well. We got to get these guys bought in. Otherwise, if you don't get these guys that you have there, they feel like you're not coaching them and improving them. What are they going to do? They're going to leave.
Well, they're not going to go out there and put up banners. We're getting ready for Alabama. They're not going to do that.
And to say Alabama needs to be aware of that, Alabama cannot worry about Auburn right now. They got to focus on Vanderbilt.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. I agree with y'all. You go to Vanderbilt up there, they laying in the bushes, and they can make their season off Alabama. Everybody we play can make their season off us.
Well, if if Jalen Milroe, God forbid, went down, it would be a totally different. I mean, this guy he just takes off. He gets to the edge, and I've never seen guys outrun defenders like he does. Your offense would not be near what it is if something like that. So, you're only one play away from something like that happening, and your total team changing.
Well, I think that's a great point, and it goes back to Saturday night with Coach Smart. I thought that him and that staff, they're coming together, and the experience and everything that they're gaining and working with each other has been kind of an interesting thing to watch for me, because Saturday night at the first half, they were completely, he said Alabama caught them off guard by going with an empty backfield and Jalen at quarterback. They did not expect that, and that's what threw them off defensively. And Jalen and crew were able to take advantage of that and run up the score to a good point in the first half. But Coach Smart said what got us was them going with an empty backfield. But I will give Georgia's coaching staff credit. When they went in at halftime, they said, what are we going to do with this? And all of them decided, said, the only way we're going to beat them is that Milroe's got to stay off the field. And he said, I don't care he said, we're going 4 down. I don't care if we're on our own 22, their 22. I don't care where we are. We're going 4 down because we got to keep his rear in. off the football field if we got a chance to win. And they almost pulled it off.
Yeah, and you're in there. You just tell that punter, you go put your street clothes on. You ain't punting.
That's right. You're done.
We ain't punting.
You're done.
We're going 4 downs. You ain't going on the field.
Live or die. We're not going to punt. This is a 4-down football game from this point on. And I thought that was pretty interesting to come up with that strategy.
Yeah, and they made some plays, and then Alabama made them at the end. So give them credit as well.
Yeah.
And I thought Coach DeBoer said, we've been through these situations as a staff, but these guys have never been through it with us. And we felt like, hey, we can still win this game. We're going to win. And so he said us going through it together is big for this program. I thought that was pretty interesting thing he said yesterday at the press conference.
Well, I thought it was interesting, too, after the game I was listening to him. And he went to the kid that was playing that cornerback position over there and said, he's underthrowing that pass on you. And if you're looking for that ball, you'll intercept it.
Yeah.
And sure enough, and I don't want to take anything away from Georgia's quarterback. He's a fine quarterback, fine kid. I really like that team that they got. And I feel like Alabama and Georgia, best 2 teams in the country. Now, that's just me. And you ain't got to call in and tell me how Texas is ranked academically by Forbes magazine. I don't give a crap about that. But to me, Alabama and Georgia are the best 2 teams in the country.
We'll see. I want to see how Texas plays. And then they got.
Texas don't want none of either one of them. I'm here to tell you.
I don't know, man. Steve Sarkisian, he scares me to death with his play calling.
He's good.
Yeah.
He's good. There ain't no 2 ways about it. He's a good football coach. But anyway, good show.
Thank you, Tom. All right, back up to the Andrew Conifer hotline. We'll go to Dothan and get Little Al in. Good morning, Little Al.
Good morning.
Hey, when we getting Tim Brando back on to see what his top 25 looks like now.
But you know what I don't like? I mean, you're right. We need to get him back on. But I also saw people going out. He ranked Alabama 2. He put him at 2.
2?
Yeah. He's got him at 2.
I know. I'm just funny. Hey, that guy's got to be he's just ill. I guarantee you, he's just ill right now. Alabama's back at number 1. Doesn't look like they missed a beat. You got Skarbinski writing articles saying that we're better off without Saban now. I mean, we have really gone off the deep end a little bit. We need to pump the brake. I love the rat trap, in the hallways, in the building. This team, I think that was actually one of the better scenarios you could have asked for as far as how the game finished. We come out there, we got all, killing them. Everybody's like, man, we're going to beat them by 50. And, they come back, show that they're a team that, quite frankly, is made up of champions over there too. And it gives us something to work on. Then we, obviously, we get up off the deck to do what we got to do to win the game. And so it's a great, there couldn't have been a better outcome in my opinion.
Yeah, and
if we
same
had
thing.
beaten them so badly, we probably do lose.
You're 100% right. And another thing, Georgia's got some teaching points. Georgia scores that last touchdown to take the lead, and what were their players doing? They were laughing at Alabama fans, pointing at them. And the game is not over. You got to be focused on the next play and what happens. Next play, Ryan Williams makes an unbelievable play there. So I'm sure Kirby Smart had a lot to say to those guys that were talking trash on the sidelines when they went up by 1 point, that you got to stay focused and keep playing, especially against a team like Alabama or Georgia.
Yeah, Kirby, I couldn't. I went back and rewatched the game. I was there Saturday, so I didn't get to to watch it. And I was laughing because Kirby was asking for thinking, pass interference on every play. I mean, it was amazing. And I don't know. I think what you're looking at right now is a team that's going to continue to grow. You've got all these freshmen in the secondary. Scary if Ryan Williams can get any better. That's the part that people need.
He can get any better. He's a quarterback. Gets the ball to
He's
me.
going to grow. Oh, I know. But I mean, is Ryan Williams going to continue to grow? He's 17.
He's thrown 33 passes, and the offensive line has held nobody's chased him down because of his legs. So you got a quarterback that hasn't been sacked at all in 33 passes. So you got to give. It's a two-way street there. And the other thing too that you have to remember, once you win, and basketball is different, but once you win like that, you brag on them like you're doing, saying great things like everybody does, and you turn the page and get ready for the next game.
Yeah.
No, I agree, and I'm gonna enjoy just every one of these chapters this season. I think because I don't want to get done so quick and then jump right into basketball. Wimp, dude, that they're going to be number one. I think they're going to be number one.
I think so too.
Preseason.
Yeah, I think so.
Mark Sears, I got to meet him down in Dothan. They came and he spoke at Bama Day. Guy,
they're good. They're good, and they're very, very good, and they're very, very deep. They have one problem that you don't generally have. They almost have too many players to keep them happy. Yeah. I'm not saying anything. I don't know anything about their personnel as much as some people do, but they've got personnel that's running out the ears, so they're going to be great.
Yeah. Thank you, Lil Al.
Miss Estrada?
Do what now? No, they won't miss Estrada.
Are they going to miss Estrada?
No, they got enough guys to
Estrada's a good player.
He's good, but they got enough that where they're not going to miss a beat. You don't have to worry about that. And hopefully they'll be better defensively with the kid from Rutgers back there protecting the rim. Because Alabama was bad defensively last year. I know they made the run there late, but they got to clean up their defense. And they hired a guy that they're hoping that can do that. So we'll see. Thanks, Lil Al.
Thank you. Who'd they hire?
Have a great one. Roll Tide.
Assistant from the NBA. I can't remember the guy. I have to look.
They just hired him?
Oh, they hired him a few months ago to come in as assistant. All right, he's came in as the defensive guru. All right, back to the Andrew Conifer hotline. Get Digger in. Good morning, Digger.
Yeah, Skarbinski's full of crap about the scheduling. What's his problem? Does somebody need to remind him about the pillow fights in Week 10? Mercer? What is Georgia? Who's Georgia playing in Week 10? By the way, I thought it was pretty clever, moving it from Week 11 to Week 10, so nobody will notice. Okay, Georgia's playing UMass in Week 10. Who are we playing? Arkansas, a revisited rivalry that they can't stand us, and they'll do anything to beat us.
Yep.
Okay? Yep. So I'm just saying, Skarbinski needs to look at his scheduling. Okay.
Digger, you're not trying to say Texas
about it until you start playing 9 games.
Are you saying Texas has a harder schedule than Georgia?
No.
Even
but
close.
It's not like it's our fault that we don't schedule Week 10 pillow fights like y'all do.
It has a little Week 10. It's the 12 games total, and you caught a break on the schedule. Just be honest about it.
I am, but you also got to throw this in there, and this is the fallacy in all this. You're playing 8 conference games instead of 9. Big Ten's playing 9. Pac-12's playing 9. Big 12's playing 9. ACC's playing 9 conference games. There's a difference. That means half of your conference gets another loss. Okay? SEC doesn't do that. Okay? Which is fine. We'll take full advantage of that. Okay? But you got to change it somewhere if you're going to make it fair for everybody. Okay? 8 conference games is an advantage. Remember that. I'll let you go.
Yeah, but I don't know about that. Yeah, it's an advantage. But if you're in the Big Ten, I mean, there's no good teams to play, but like 2 or 3. And Ohio State doesn't even see any of them. I do. I'm looking at Texas's schedule. Now, I think it's a little harder than we thought it was at the beginning of the season because Kentucky seems like they're kind of for real, that defense, and they have to play Kentucky in Week 11. Then they have to go to Texas A&M now that's 4-1, so that'll be a little more difficult. And Arkansas, they have to travel to Arkansas. So they got Oklahoma next. They got a week off, then Georgia, then at Vanderbilt, Florida at home, at Arkansas, Kentucky, and Texas A&M. But still think Texas will be in the SEC championship game for sure if they knock off Georgia. All right, we'll take the break here. Went a little past there. Open phone lines back up, 205-342-9904. Also have some Coach Sheridan sound as well. You listen to Tide 100.9. It's the home of Alabama sports.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. Well, we're not doing so bad on this Tuesday morning. Looking at McFarland, you're kind of on and off your brakes pretty frequently in between Academy and make that Lurleen Wallace. That again, McFarland. Between Academy and Lurleen Wallace, on and off your brakes, but nothing severe. 43 is its
5.3. The Bear is brought to you by North River Outdoors. Check us out at NorthRiverOutdoors.com.
Crimson Tide Today is presented on Tide 100.9, WTBC 1230 by BMW of Tuscaloosa. Online at bmwoftuscaloosa.com.
From the University of Alabama, this is Crimson Tide Today. It's daily update on Bama sports, and it's brought to you by Everwood Treatment Company, the official treated lumber of Alabama athletics. Everwood, wood treated right. Hello again, everybody. I'm Roger Hoover. On Monday, head coach Kalen DeBoer met with the media to preview Alabama against Vanderbilt.
It's something I think that's just inside of these guys. They want to be great. Just proud of the way they bring it every single day and the energy. It shows every day I step on the football field. And so proud of that. And, they're doing a lot of things well. I think we're continuing to do more things well on both offense, defense, and also with special teams. Always going to be things that we need to continue to clean up. We know we're only as good as our last game, and everything that's on film or anything that didn't go like you'd hoped is going to be what the next opponent's going to look at and try to attack you with. So, I think looking forward to tomorrow morning and a great practice. Should be full of energy. It needs to be the best Tuesday we've ever had, just because that's the way we have to approach each and every opportunity.
I'll have more in a moment.
Producing championship quality lumber is not an easy process, but at Everwood Preserving, it's our only process. Wood treated right. Everwood offers top-notch pressure-treated wood for decks, outdoor structures, commercial jobs, and more that you can build your reputation on. When it comes to quality, we're on the winning team. Visit your local Everwood dealer today and discover the difference for yourself. Everwood Preserving Incorporated, the official lumber of the Alabama Crimson Tide.
Join us this afternoon for Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR, streaming live at 2 p.m. Central on all CTSN social media platforms. Crimson Tide Today is brought to you by Everwood. Crimson Tide Today is a production of the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
A partly sunny sky today, just a small chance of a shower this afternoon and this evening. The high today 83, tonight's low 64. Tomorrow is sunny day, the high 85, and Thursday partially sunny with a high back in the mid 80s at 86. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 69 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Mr. SEC Tournament Wimp Sanderson gives you his excellent analysis every weekday on Inside the Locker Room, right here on Tide 100.9.
Welcome back to Inside the Locker Room. The time right now at Tuscaloosa Toyota, we've all been looking for buy 3 tires and get the fourth tire for $1, which is a great deal. They always do this promotion in October, so it goes through the end of the month. So you can buy 3, get the any tire you want, and get the fourth tire for $1. Also go to the website, TuscaloosAToyota.com. You can look at the new inventory, the pre-owned inventory, schedule a service. Don't pay a fortune renting a car. You can rent a Toyota right there at Tuscaloosa Toyota. So swing by Skyline Boulevard to go to the website, TuscaloosAToyota.com. All right, Coach Sheridan is the first guy, Dad, that meets with the media. When he comes in, they give him the option of, having an opening statement or just getting right to the press conference. Now, Kane Wommack's no problem. He has an opening statement. DeBoer does as well. I don't think Nick, he's very respectful to the press, but I don't think that's something like that he's looking excited. He's excited to go talk to the press. He just wants to go in there, get it over with, and get back to work there. So he did not do an opening statement. He came in and he just literally opened it up for questions. First question came about the tight end C.J. Dupree and why he is so special. Here's what Nick Sheridan had to say about that.
Coach, when you look at tight end C.J. Dupree, just what makes him unique in having this offense run, especially when it's clicking?
I think CJ's size is rare. You know, he's a big person, and I think he's hard to tackle when he gets going. You know, I think that showed up in the game, and it has shown up, you know, throughout fall camp and spring practice. And so I thought he did a nice job of breaking tackles and running downhill and behind his pads.
Let's go to the next one. They asked him about Jalen Milroe and finding the open guys to throw the football to and his improvement there. Here's what Nick Sheridan had to say about that.
A lot of emphasis on it. You know, that was an area that we felt in the first few games that we could improve, and we spent a lot of time collectively as a staff just trying to simulate that as best you can in practice. And I thought, you know, all the coaches and the players did a real good job, you know, of improving in that area. And you know, obviously, especially when you're playing tight coverage, you know, the location of the football matters, you know, to give our guys an opportunity to make a play. And the credit, as always, you know, goes to the players for executing in those moments. But that certainly was a point of emphasis from the coaching staff to the players that, you know, we can improve in those areas to try to make sure, you know, that we give our guys an opportunity to make a play, and that the guys catching the ball are aware, you know, of what the quarterback is seeing and anticipating on where he might throw it as well. So, you know, that was a point of emphasis over the last few, you know, weeks, and it showed up in the game. And so there's things that every week you look at that you can improve on, and that you try to address those things in the week of prep.
Comments on what he had to say there about
Miller. Comments are, he knows what's going on. He's a football guy, and he tries to explain as best he can to the fans exactly what they try to do to get ready. And to some fans, it's a little bit complicated, not understanding. To me as well.
Yeah,
but, he does a good job of really getting those points over in the right way.
Yeah, they asked him about Elijah Pritchett, and he's quick when you ask about one player. He tries to give the whole line credit, not just going to single out one guy. But here they asked about Elijah Pritchett, but he does talk about the entire offensive line.
Just play at right tackle. I thought, you know, up front, I thought the pass protection was solid by and large. I thought there was times in the run game where we could do a better job, and that's not just specifically with Pritch. You know, I'm proud of the progress that group has made. I'm proud of the effort, you know, the toughness, the physicality. But I also know there's lots for us to work on to be more consistent in certain areas. You know, I think it's very easy. Sometimes you watch the game and maybe a player gets a penalty or, you know, something happens and you just assume that it was that person, but that's not always the case, you know. Sometimes somebody else, you know, has an error or a miscommunication or whatever that may be. And, you know, that's where the mistake happens, but it falls on someone else's shoulders, you know. So I thought across the line of scrimmage that there were some good moments for sure in the game. Like I said, I thought the pocket was by and large pretty clean. But I thought, you know, there was things in the run game that we could do a better job.
Don't be too quick to judge one person.
Yeah.
It's a team effort on both, you know, offensively and defensively. It's a team effort, and sometimes there's a breakdown that you think it's caused by one person, it's caused by somebody else.
Yeah, I was thinking sometimes you put it in basketball terms, a guy gets a foul, but you go back and look at the film, well, he gets a foul because the guy who was defending the ball gets beat. So he's having to rotate over and try to help him, and he gets the foul. Well, it's the guy that was guarding the ball's fault. He put his teammate in that situation. All right, they tried 2 trick plays. They asked him, why would you try 2 trick plays when your offense is going so well? Well, they study these things. They look for opportunities to do things, so they're trying to, take advantage of what the defense is doing. Here's what Nick said about the 2 trick plays.
I think, without getting into too much detail, about the thought process behind some of those plays, I think every week you're trying to find ways to put your players in the best position to be successful against who they're going against, the scheme, the players, the personnel. And so, those were just plays that we felt, would have a chance. And ultimately it comes down to the execution in practice to give you the confidence, whether it's, a throw, a run, a different type of play. We have all of them in our offense. And I think ultimately the execution that happens in practice gives you the confidence, not just as coaches, but as players, that you can execute those in different moments in the game. And, I think there's value in having a variety of types of plays because it becomes harder to defend. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't, but I think there's value in those. And some weeks you feel like you have advantages or the looks that you're looking for, and other weeks you don't. And so, you wait for the right times and in the right games to put some of those types of plays in.
He wants the opponent to know that they're going to do a lot of things.
Sure.
The walking down the line and clapping his hands, and when you put in a trick play, we put in a guard back one time in our basketball. When you put in something that's quite unique, the players like that because they think they fool people. But I think the one thing that the coaches like about it is that the defensive coordinators on the opponent's team saying these guys do a lot of things well. They do this, they do that. We've got a lot to get ready for. And that's exactly what he has just said in a better way than I did.
Yeah, and it's like a team that plays a little bit of zone. Well, you got to work against zone during your practice because you might see it in the game. Right. So these guys do these things, so they have to have a segment now on unique plays that Alabama runs to get ready to play these guys.
That's the reason I'm trying to get you to run a press 3/4.
All right, there you go. All right, thoughts on Ryan Williams' performance against Georgia? I think he talks about how hard Ryan Williams works in practice. So this doesn't just happen on game day. This guy puts a lot into it. Here's what he said about Ryan.
I don't think confidence was ever an issue as far as him gaining that. I think he's a confident player. And I think that comes from his work ethic and his preparation, and how hard he practices each and every day. And I thought he played well in the game.
All right, the next clip, I listened to him. They talked about you come out and you run, at the beginning of the game, a script. They said they have their first so many plays scripted. Now Alabama played so well offensively. Do you go back to that later on in the game? And he even said sometimes when a play doesn't work, it doesn't mean it won't work again later on in the game. But he talked about the play calling early and then going back to it.
Script later in the game.
You're asking if we repeat calls?
Well, the whole script for that matter.
Yeah. I think you're always balancing that, between trying to keep the opponent off balance by not running the same plays, and then yet, if you felt like it worked and there was a reason for that, going back, to them. I think, we've ran more than. You talk about the opening script. We repeated some of those calls for sure, and so I think you're mindful of who you're going against and the adjustments that they're going to make relative to what you've already had success or not with. I think the other piece of that is just because a play didn't work early in the game, I think you have to be honest about why that did or did not happen and not be afraid to go back to it if it was just an execution or a communication issue. And so there's certainly times where you repeat calls or go back to, a sequence of plays if you felt like it was successful. And you're also trying to think ahead of what the adjustments are that they're going to make based on what you've done.
I think it's a very good answer there. Your thoughts,
Boaz? Very good. Yeah, he's a smart guy, and he runs it in a very organized way. And he the one thing about him, he sort of has an idea of what Georgia's going to do, how they're going to play defensively on the next play, because he studied them so hard, and he knows their weaknesses and their strengths as far as their individual abilities. He's terrific. Shepard does a good job of helping him. And the two of them, I think, work together very well. And I think regardless of what happens in the future, and everybody's on cloud 9 right now, what happens in the future, if he gets, he's going to be the same kind of guy every game.
Yeah, I think he may be a guy. He's just kind of a ball coach. That's what he enjoys. I think breaking down film, finding things that'll work, seeing what the defense is going to do if they do this and countering that. That he may not be a guy that's going to be jumping to a head job. He may just enjoy the role of being a really great coordinator. He doesn't seem to really enjoy talking to the media that much. He just wants to get back and study film and get with his players.
Well, let me say this to you. The general manager who almost left and the athletic director, they paid him to where they kept him because he knows where the people are dissatisfied or satisfied or trying to get. He's a guy they come to get players to try to give. This guy fits that same mold. He's a guy that when the head coach goes into the athletic director and says, we don't need to lose this guy, he becomes head coach salary. He'll be just like the general manager was when the general manager had an opportunity to go somewhere else.
Yeah, the Alabama's going to continue to recruit really well on the West Coast because this general manager, they're close with the Pump brothers, all right? The Pump brothers were were back here in Tuscaloosa. Well, one of them was, and he had access.
Why does that help?
Because he has every recruit out there in his pocket. Every one out there. Basketball, and now I guess he's come over to football. Every one of them.
Well, he did basketball. I didn't know he's involved in football.
Yes, and so he's tight with DeBoer. So he was back here for the game, and he was on social media posting the videos in the locker room before the game, the team coming out of the tunnel on the sideline. He was in the locker room prior to the game, so they gave him complete access. Nobody knows who he is, but you and I would, and he has access to all those guys out there, and he'll help out. He had all his Alabama gear on, so that told me right there that these guys are quiet, but they know the score in recruiting. All right, let's talk about Bryant Bank before we get to break.
Well, Bryant Bank knows the score as well. Outstanding people that can come when you go in. You will open up an account. That account will be safe, and these Bryant Bank people will do everything they possibly can to make you happy. And when you go into a bank and you come out satisfied, that's important. And Bryant Bank at the locations in Tuscaloosa and various locations in Birmingham and wherever they are a bank that bank has been there since 2005. Will be a bank that you can trust. You can be darn sure that your money, whether it be a personal account or whether it be a business account, will be safe. So go by Bryant Bank. As I told you, I had a couple of people come to me and say that they asked the lady asked them, why did you just select us? And they said they heard it on the radio. So maybe it was us. Hope it was. But tell them you heard it inside the locker room, and I think that you'll be well satisfied.
All right, we'll take the break here. We also have some Kane Womack sound. We can listen to Kane, Coach Womack. We also can take your phone calls, 205-342-9904. Then we'll get out of here and make way for the Gary Harris Show. You listen to Tide 100.9, 1230 AM. WTBC is the home of Alabama sports.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. We picked up a fender bender on McFarland, eastbound just before Joe Malisham Parkway. This is right before Larry Road in Northport. You do want to watch out for this fender bender. It's got traffic a little slow in the area. Also picking up the pace at Lurleen Wallace, moving northbound onto McFarland Boulevard. All the areas picking up.
It's the year-end clearance sale at Townsend Nissan going on now. You can save thousands. See BJ or Kylan today at Townsend Nissan, your savings place.
Road tripping, business travel, or bringing your car in for repairs. All great reasons to rent a Toyota at Tuscaloosa Toyota. You can rent the latest Toyota models for a day, a week, or a weekend. Every Toyota rental-car comes with 24 hours roadside assistance.
Hire account before receiving 24 bill credits, and credit stop and balance on required finance agreement too. Bill credits end if you pay off device early. See how you can save versus the other big guys at T-Mobile.com/switch. Apple Intelligence coming fall 2024.
For more from Tide 100.9,
Let's it fly and burns it.
Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and SoundCloud.
Welcome back to Inside the Locker Room. All right, we'll go to Kane Womack. Just go right to the first clip. Thoughts on the team's ability to stay in the fight, especially with the game winning interception. And Fabian Brown, quite honestly, been burned a lot during the game, and he stayed with it. So I'm sure that last play will give him some confidence. But he gave up a lot of plays as well. And I thought Coach Womack did a great job in the press conference as well. Just go ahead and play that first clip.
Stay in the fight.
Yeah, I think I thought, Coach DeBoer hit it right on the head with the players. When, we've all had experiences in football where we've had to navigate through adversity, but when you do it together, you can now all draw from that common experience. And so for a guy like Zabian Brown, who, they took shots at him from the second play on, and really he navigated that really well. And honestly, a lot of the downfield throws, I thought we did a really nice job of the majority of the night. But when you have well over 20, I think it was 22 or 23 of them, they're going to connect on some. And they did against him early in the game, in the second half of the game, for him to stay locked into those moments and not be overwhelmed by the adversity, won us the football game ultimately, right? And the confidence that will draw, that he'll be able to draw upon for the rest of his career, the confidence that we'll be able to build off from his teammates, right? Knowing that he can stay in the fight and find a way to win ultimately, I think is something that, I told the defense, nobody in that room will ever forget that moment. You know what I mean? And certainly this season, we need to make sure that we rely back on that when adversity comes, which it most certainly.
That kind of reminds me, Dad, you probably had guys on the floor that were getting killed or, made some mistakes, and your assistant coaches are yelling at you, take him out, and that the guy has prepared and worked. And, of course, this guy's a freshman, so they hadn't seen him make big plays in big moments, but they stay with him, and the guy ends up making what could considerably be maybe the biggest play of the game, and how much that can help his confidence.
Well, sure it does. It's a hard swallow to stay with them too. It's easy to say on a radio show, but it's a little bit scary for you when you're coaching and you're down to it. But he turned the correct way and caught the football. The interception was terrific. So I think everything right now is absolutely correct. Every caller is wonderful, and everybody's happy. Just be sure that you make the calls if something goes a little bit slides a little bit harder during the season. The one thing you got to do is brag on your players, hug them, feel good about it, turn the page, and get ready for the next one. And when you go to a game that you're supposed to win, and everybody knows it, your uncles and aunts, who y'all play after Vanderbilt, they forget that they got South Carolina and Tennessee next to. Who y'all play at well, they skip them. Don't skip them. Coach Bryant got beat one time in Nashville. And when he did, and I'm not going to tell you who's in charge of the game, but he wasn't in charge of any more. And they got beat. They got beat at Vanderbilt one time when I was there for all those years. So enjoy what's going on, but turn the page.
All right, we get back to the Yellowwood Hotline. Tom back in. Hey, Tom.
Barry, you were talking about, good morning again, and thanks for letting me talk. Y'all were talking about the Pump brothers and one of them being there for the game Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
And I was looking at him, and he had this lady with him, and I started thinking about a movie that they made way back in the day. It was called 10. Bo Derek was in it. You remember that movie?
Yeah.
And, her husband was the director and producer, and he put her out for the world to enjoy her beautiful looks. And I was thinking about that lady that was standing there with him on the sideline Saturday night, and I said, I told my wife, I said, if she was in the movies like Bo Derek was, you know what the number of that movie would be?
What's that?
25.
Wow.
Great day.
You don't get it, huh?
Yeah, I do. I get it.
I thought that would be funny.
Do you know who the Pump brothers are?
I did when I figured it out after you started talking about them about 6 months ago.
So they have their parents, or one of them that died of cancer. They have a good gala out there every year, and When I tell you they have the stars of athletics.
I looked it up.
Now, when they used to have the at the Final Four, they always had events for the coaches and the athletic directors, and so they started controlling like exhibition games where they were coming in, bringing in team, making money, and these guys they print money, and they have these big galas, and people donate millions of dollars, and they done a lot for the hospital out there. But these guys,
they really do. I mean, they're quite benevolent when you look into them, and do a lot of good work.
Yeah,
they're not bad people.
They've been big on the AAU scene out there in California, and they've had all the players. They've kind of controlled recruiting out there and all for a long, long time. So anyway, thank you, Tom.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, we'll take this last break and then wrap up the show. You listen to Tide 100.9. It's the home of Alabama sports.
Go inside the Alabama Crimson Tide with the Gary Harris Show.
Hey, everybody, it's Gary Harris. Coming up Tuesday morning on the Gary Harris Show at 9 a.m., we're going to continue to talk Alabama, Georgia, even though it's in the rearview mirror. What a game. And we'll look ahead to Alabama, Vanderbilt with the Rocket Man, Drudy Armand from 977 ESPN Radio in Huntsville. Also, the Titans Report with Kayla Anderson. Your phone calls and more. That's Tuesday morning on the Gary Harris Show at 9 a.m.
Catch the Gary Harris Show Monday through Friday, 9 to 11 a.m. on Tide 100.9 and Tide100.9.com.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. We picked up a fender bender on McFarland, eastbound just before Joe Malisham Parkway. This is right before Mid-Larry Road in Northport. You do want to watch out for this fender bender. It's got traffic a little slow in the area. Also picking up the pace at Lurleen Wallace, moving northbound onto McFarland Boulevard. All the areas picking up the pace.
At the Free at Innisfree Irish Pub, 1925 University Boulevard, downtown. Come join Wyatt Fulton for lunch at Innisfree Irish Pub.
Road tripping, business travel, or bringing your car in for repairs. All great reasons to rent a Toyota at Tuscaloosa Toyota. You can rent the latest Toyota models for a day, a week, or a weekend. Every Toyota rental car comes with 24 hours roadside assistance.
Checkers for the 5 for $5 wing deal.
Checkers with 2 locations, 15th Street in Tuscaloosa and McFarland Boulevard in Northport, open late.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
A partly sunny sky today. Just a small chance of a shower this afternoon and this evening. The high today 83. Tonight's low 64. Tomorrow is sunny day. The high 85. And Thursday, partially sunny with a high back in the mid 80s at 86. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 70 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Inside the Locker Room with Wimp and Barry on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back to Inside the Locker. It'd be interesting, Dad, to talk to we have a ton of respect for Coach Saban. I think even the role he's in now, he speaks very highly of Alabama. He kind of helping DeBoer just because he's an Alabama coach tier. But to talk to a guy like Freddie Roach, who's worked under both, what the atmosphere is like now in that building compared to what it was when Coach Saban was there. And both styles work. Coach Saban probably had those guys all on the edge of their seats. But these guys seem to be level-headed. They work hard, but it seems like these guys probably having a lot of fun up there. It's probably a little bit different atmosphere when you think in the office.
Yeah, it is completely different. For the rest of our week, along with our regular guest, tomorrow we're going to have on Jack Crow. I think I feel like I need to have him on when he wants to, and for the Georgia game. And we'll have Tyler Watts on, who does a good job of really assistant of it to the broadcast on Thursday, and then on last day I'm going to get Dr. Galen McCullough on, who they had a reunion there of 64 team, one team there a long time ago, and he was there. And since I'm down here, I wanted to get him on. So those will be our 3 guests that we don't generally have, along with our regular guest.
All right, sounds like a great week. here on Inside the Locker Room. All right, we'll get out of here. We'll make way for the Gary Harris Show. Gary's in, ready to go. It was interesting. I thought those press conferences were good. Chase, thanks for having them. I thought Nick Sheridan, I think he does a really, really good job. I think the guy's really smart, but he's even keeled. He's not one that's going crazy in the booth. He's thinking about the next play and what they're going to do next. So I think his demeanor works really well. And I think Coach DeBoer's done a great job of surrounding himself with people that kind of make this staff all work. So congratulations to those guys. A long way to go, but they're heading obviously in the right direction. The Gary Harris Show is next, so keep it locked in. You listen to Tide 100.9, 1230 AM WTBC. It's the home of Alabama sports. Have a great day, everybody.